I have a lovely little clearance pot here, and I was just gonna repot it, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna do this on video because this is a pretty common occurrence for people that buy little arrangements like this and then get home and want to repot them and find out that the rocks are all glued in. So what do you do? So this guy, I'm gonna try and save, well, hopefully I can save this guy too, but this one isn't as important to me. Let me pull this up just a tad. There we go. As this little plant. But the first thing I'm going to do is spray the top really, really well. And this is actually really warm water, which by the time it sprays out and soaks through the rocks, it's not going to be too hot for the plant. But I'm just going to wet the top. Sometimes they make these with water-soluble glue, and having some water in the top helps. People ask all the time, why do they do this? And they do it so that it's less messy for the store, you know. And there's absolutely no point in doing it for the plant or anything. It's merely for convenience for the store so that they don't dump over. And the easiest way I know is just to get in there like you see I'm doing. I'm going underneath this one particular plant. As you can see, it's kind of a little sad. Looks like a sedum or something, which I'll put in my start tray and see. A lot of times the other reason they do this is because they're not actual plants. They are cuttings, and they jam them into the pot to look beautiful. They have them all arranged, and then they glue them in so that they don't fall out. And a lot of times by the time we pull them apart, they are rooting. As you can see, this guy is having some little roots. However, the tiny amount of roots that this guy has tells me it wasn't a plant, it was a cutting that was put in here. So, which is fine, but it can be disappointing when you think that you're going home with this beautiful plant, and then you get home and find out it's just a stem that was glued into a pot. So just breaking off the dirt, you know, the rocks like this away from whatever plant that you're trying to get close to, and slowly working your way, just kind of prying up the rocks. And then when you get close to the plant that you want, go down in really good and just pry it up like this so that you're just gently dislodging any roots. Gonna just tap him here. This guy has a little bit bigger of a root base, which I would expect. These guys have been in this pot for, well, I got it on clearance probably at least 6 months ago, and it's just been sitting here waiting for me to deal with it. And I liked the little tubs for, I don't remember, it was a couple bucks, and then I figured, yeah, I can save the little plants here. I'm gonna set this guy here for now and move on to this one. Okay, these guys are separating between the two of them, so that's fine. And now this plant, I'm glad this did this so I can show. This one is kind of attached to its rocks. So I'm going to set him aside for just a second and get this guy out so that I can make some more room on my board here. If you hear noise, my son is upstairs watching a movie, a Ninjago movie, and you can hear it. It probably won't show up on the video, but that's what's going on. All right, so this guy has some rocks glued directly to the plant. Like there's actually glue in between the plant. So what I'm gonna do, first off, if you can see before I move that right here, this lovely little root that this guy is shooting out, and I'm just gently gonna peel the rocks away that aren't attached to where I can see what's happening with the ones that are. All right, so that leaves this little cluster glued. Now, I have a couple options. The first one is this leaf is the only one that is attached to this rock cluster, so I could totally just remove this one leaf. The plant will be just fine, and then the rocks will be removed. But since obviously removing the leaf will kill it, there's no harm in trying to remove the rocks, and if I rip the leaf, oh well, I was gonna remove it anyways, right? And so I'm just gonna gently start peeling each of these, not trying to peel it away from the plant. I'm just peeling each of the rocks off of themselves first, because this will help break down remove the glue and just make it a lot easier to remove the 1 or 2 rocks that are left actually attached to the plant. All right, and there I am. So these 5 rocks are actually glued to the plant, not to each other. But I'm just gonna gently twist, starting on the smallest one, and just twist and gently pull, which I wish you guys could see this a little bit better, but hopefully that's good. And so far, so good. Slow and steady. So far, the only outer coating that I've peeled off is a little layer of glue, and then I've also peeled a little bit of the outer fuzz off, as you can see. So the outer layer of this guy is gone. So this leaf may not survive, but that's totally fine. It's the same as if it's not going to be any worse off than pulling it off. All right, I'm going to rinse this guy off in the sink after I'm done here and clean him off really good, but he is free. And it's pretty obvious that this guy was also a cutting because of how small the root system is for being here. And this guy, after I set him down, it just peeled right off of this whole hunk. So I guess this guy isn't needing any help, which is fantastic. So he's free and got some roots going on. I'm not going to break this up too much because he's got a pretty good root system, but they're all brand new, fresh, tiny roots, which tells me it was a cutting, which is totally fine. But just something to keep in mind when you're getting these really cute little arrangements, that if you're wanting it as an arrangement just to look cute for a while, they're fantastic. And then after they're past their prime, you may wind up with a few little cuttings and plants that you're able to rescue. But if you're buying an arrangement like this because you're in love with the plant and think it's a really healthy plant, beware, because there's a really big chance it's just a cutting. If it's in an arrangement like this, that's glued in, but a lot of times even the ones that aren't glued in are cuttings as well, because it is really difficult when using fully rooted plants to get them all in a small area looking beautiful and close together and like a really nice arrangement. It's much, much easier if you're just dealing with stems and poking stems in and then glue them in, which the great thing is they root a lot of the times. But if you're thinking this is a really healthy plant, most likely it's a really healthy cutting. So just beware. Yeah, when shopping, and try and start from the edges and pry them away from the edges rather than focusing on the plant and trying to get the plant out. Try and remove the outer layer of rocks and kind of pry from the edges so that your force is on the rocks and the edge of the pot rather than on the stem of the plant. If you start at the stem and try and pry around the stem, you're going to end up damaging the stem, possibly irreparably, but for sure at least damaging it somewhat, which we don't want to do unless absolutely necessary. Alrighty, that's it for today. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and happy growing!